story time at the Arlington Public Library. My name is Miss Jenny, and today's story is from the far north. It's the story of the woodcutter and the 3 wishes. Are you ready for a story? If you're ready for a story, clap your hands. If you're ready for a story, clap your hands. If you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, clap your hands. If you're ready for a story, flap your wings. If you're ready for a story, flap your wings, flap, flap. If you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, flap your wings, flap, flap. If you're ready for a story, shout hooray, hooray! If you're ready for a story, shout hooray, hooray! If you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, shout hooray, hooray! You're ready for a story, do all 3. Clap, clap, flap, flap, hooray! If you're ready for a story, do all 3. Clap, clap, flap, flap, hooray! If you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, do all 3. Clap, clap, flap, flap, hooray! Yay! All right, now for our story. Once upon a time in the far north where the cold winds blew and the snows of winter rose deep, there lived a woodcutter and his wife in a cottage at the edge of the forest. They were very poor and often they went to sleep without a lot of food in their tummies, but they had each other and love and they were happy. Every day, the woodcutter went out to the forest to chop wood to make firewood to sell in the nearby village. And every day, by the end of the day, he was very, very tired. One day, towards the end of the day, the woodcutter came upon a tree, and he was very surprised. There was something odd about that tree. Here we are in the middle of winter, and here is a beautiful tree with all of its leaves. He knew that there are 2 types of trees, deciduous trees, whose leaves fall down in the winter, and conifer trees that are usually evergreen and stay green all winter long. Well, this was a deciduous tree with beautiful leaves still intact. He looked at that tree, wondering what was going on. But then he thought, a tree is a tree. And he picked up his axe, hefted it on his shoulder, and was about to swing it into the trunk of the tree when he heard, "Stop!" Well, this startled the woodcutter, and he looked all around. He didn't see anyone. So he looked behind the tree. Nobody. He looked up in the branches of the tree. Nobody. He even looked in the hole of the tree. Nobody. So, once again, he hefted his axe and was just about to swing it into the tree when he heard, "Stop!" Once again, he looked all around the clearing, all of the other trees, into the leaves, around the back of the tree. Nothing. He thought, I am really tired and really, really hungry. I must be hallucinating. So once again, he hefted his axe and was about to swing it into the tree when he heard, "Please stop. Please spare my tree, and I will grant you wishes 3. He didn't see anyone. And he said, "Who are you?" And the voice said, "I am the spirit of the tree. Please spare my tree, and I will grant you 3 wishes." Well, he thought, I must be going crazy. But a tree is a tree, so I will go to the next tree over, cut it down, and go home for dinner. And that is exactly what he did. On the way home, he started remembering a story that his grandfather once had told him about the spirit of the trees. Grandfather had told him that in the certain trees there lived a spirit or a little wood nymph that protected the grove of trees, and the trees protected the wood nymph. But he didn't believe it. No matter, he couldn't wait to get home and tell his wife everything that had happened. When he got home, he started telling her the story. And she remembered hearing a similar story from childhood from her grandfather, but she didn't believe it either. They were laughing and laughing about it, and the wife was preparing dinner as he was telling her the story. And he asked her, "What's for dinner?" And she said, "Oh, we don't have a lot for dinner, but there's a little bit of porridge left over from this morning's breakfast, so I'm going to serve that." The woodcutter sighed. "Oh." And then he said, "I wish I had a big juicy sausage for dinner." And before you know it, hovering in midair was a big juicy sausage. The woodcutter grabbed it, and all of a sudden they both knew what had happened. The wife said, "Oh no, husband, you could have wished for anything in the world. You could have wished for money, wealth beyond your wildest dreams, and we never would have had to go to bed hungry again or worried about being cold in the deep, dark winter. But here you had to wish for a sausage?" And she was scolding him over and over, and the husband got fed up, a little bit irritated, and he said, "I wish this sausage were on the end of your nose." And before you know it, blink, the sausage flew up and attached to the end of her nose. Well, the woodcutter realized what he had done. Together they pulled the sausage and tried to get it off, and the wife's nose was so sore, nothing at all worked. And then the husband said, "No matter, I have one more wish, and now I will wish for all those riches and wealth and everything you suggested that I wish for, and we will be happy." And so he started to make that wish, and the wife said, Wait, there's one problem here. Do you know what it is?" And he said, "No, I can't think of a problem." And she said, "I have a sausage on the end of my nose." So they stood there for a minute, wondering what they could do, how they could make the third wish and have wealth and riches beyond their dreams and the sausage off of the wife's nose. And they realized that they had to make an important decision. Finally, the husband gave a deep sigh and said, "I wish the sausage were off my wife's nose and in a pan." And before you know it, it was. And they ate it for dinner. So, because they loved each other, they lived happily ever after. But the husband always, in the dead of winter, when he was looking for trees to chop, he was on the lookout for a tree that had beautiful green leaves. Even though it was the dead of winter, he never gave up hope. And that's the story of the woodcutter and the 3 wishes. If you like stories, check out our website at library.arlingtonva.us for books and activities for children. Thank you for joining us. Bye.